Black Republicans, I'll say, versus Black MAGA-ins. So
Yeah,
recently, another batch of Black celebrities or notables, I'm putting it like that. I got very LA when I said that, celebrities or notables. Um, Nick Cannon, Amber Rose, and Chilli from the 1990s girl group TLC have all come out in a version of ways of being Trump supporters specifically. And there's been a lot of discussion about that. And as well, there's been kind of like a, talk about, what does it mean to be a Trump supporter or a MAGA person in this era? And is there a difference between being a Black Republic and a Black MAGA? So I'm gonna let you take it from there, Dane, because this is something you wanted to talk about. I was like,
well, yeah,
I
well,
don't give a fuck. But okay, yes.
well. Let's first talk about the difference between Black MAGA and Black conservatives.
Well,
So I know a lot of Black conservatives, and I know a lot of Black Republicans pre Donald Trump, as I'm sure you do. Now,
yes.
a lot of people don't realize Black folks in general have more conservative views than liberal views in regards to, like, Black church folks are very close to the Venn diagram of Black church folks and white evangelicals is like this, because a lot of them, they don't rock with the LGBTQ community like the white evangelicals. A lot of the Black um, church are conservative fiscally. They're fiscal conservatives, so they mirror a lot of policy with Republicans. Like my granddad always would say, he was like, "Well, I'm a business owner. Republicans are good for me as a business owner." You know, and he's a Black man with a Black business. But that's, to me, is what a old school Black conservative was. To me, Black MAGA, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Black MAGA seems to be rooted in just like a little bit of coonery all the time. Like Black MAGA always seems to be rooted in like pick meism for white folks. Like, if I say this, the white folks going to accept me a little more. That's what it always feels like to me. Or it feels like I'm around so many white people, you know, I kind of attach myself to this side to feel this way. Because in regards to like the Nick Cannon and Amber Rose conversation, it was funny to me because Nick Cannon is a pretty smart guy for the most part. Like I've heard him speak a lot of times. I don't think he's like a dummy, but I also think he sometimes lacks context, like, because he like historically, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, historically, the Republicans freed the slaves. It was like, yes, that's true. And the KKK started as Democrats. Okay, yes, that's true. But then you're missing the whole historical context about the Dixiecrats and how basically since the literally the Civil Rights bill was passed, they switched. The party switched. So a lot of, Ronald Reagan led those, because he was a Democrat at that time, led those Democrats to switch to Republican because the Democrats passed that bill, because Democrats passed the Civil Rights Bill. So I think, to me, when they make those conversations and they use those talking points, I feel like it lacks nuance and it's misleading to our people when they say stuff like
Mhm.
that. Like, far be it from me to be because I'm not like I'm not a Democratic apologist by any means. But at the same time, we have to talk realistically about policy. Like, when they talk about, oh, what have the Democrats done? Like, listen, the policies that has helped Black people most, and again, not saying they've been the best, because nobody's been the best for us, period. Like, let's just lay that out there. But, you know, Affordable Care Act and actually trying to get like universal health care for everybody, like those are all democratic principles at this time. Now, the other issues that the Democrats had, we could do a whole nother show about that, about, why they've been losing and why they've, become unpopular. But then when you say stuff like Democrats ain't for Black people, but then you support Trump, that's where I'm like, wait, hold on. You can't say you say one hand Democrats say for black people to say that Trump is for black people. Like that's where we gotta, draw the line. And that's what I think happens a lot of time with these black MAGA celebrities in particular. The
Right.
the celebrity, like the celebrity side, the black MAGA celebrities. It's like Nick Cannon said something like he's cleaning house. I was like, what?
What house?
What house? Like this
Definitely
White
not
House?
his. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like oh, he cleaned the house and he just doing. I was like, yeah, like I can't take it seriously when if you want to criticize the Democratic Party, please do and do it full throatedly and be. But then don't get the other side a pass while you criticizing the Democrats about one thing and you giving the other side a pass. So I'm like, if you're gonna say Democrats don't do nothing for black people, then I need you to point to me what MAGA in particular, not gonna say Republicans, what MAGA has done for black folks.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
besides crush DEI, besides crush DEI, try to stop Black history from being taught in schools. Just like there's a plethora of things that has happened that has literally been geared specifically towards us. Like y'all always want to talk about what the Democrats don't do for us specifically. We can point to a bunch of things that MAGA has done specifically toward black folks. Now people of color, now minorities towards they say that thing. But also, the other side of it too, like Chilli with the whole Michelle Obama conspiracy,
Yeah,
you know,
let me can I just I wanted to interject because I honestly I should have set this section of the talk up better. Amber Rose, Nick Cannon, and Chili are being discussed because they all said very problematic statements. Nick Cannon said that the Democratic Party are racist. Amber Rose, who was on like some kind of on Nick Cannon's podcast, it's
yeah.
being criticized because I think she said white people could say the N word, and also, I mean, Amber Rose has also been an outright Trump supporter, and then Chili from TLC posted the what is it, the video or the GIF or something like that, saying that Michelle Obama looked like a monkey or something like that, right?
No, that she was a man, that she's
That she
really
was
a
a man,
man.
excuse me. Yeah, that that she was a man. And so because of these three statements, then the internet be interneting, and they then begin to dig up just basically the histories of Chile, and how she in fact was a long-term Trump supporter, and then Nick. But let me say, there are several things I want to say about those three things. And it was because of these outlandish statements. I'll say them outlandish statements or public actions that are bringing them into certain scrutiny. I think what I think collectively what a lot of when we talk about black political discussions don't fully acknowledge that there are quite a few black people who have money that
Yeah.
have been in the Republican Party. They will not publicly say it, especially at this time because of the political ramifications. That's one thing. And then, secondly, particularly for hip hop has had a whole history and relationship with Donald Trump in particular, and him being in a whole bunch of body of work, and
Hmm.
his rise to his wealth was considered legendary and like the American dream and the American way. And it was celebrated by, I would say, a certain line of rappers in an era of hip hop that really were really celebrating moving towards hyper capitalism,
Right,
which
right.
people like Tupac criticized. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why are we revering, this guy? And so, and when we were in the pre-show, I just thought about it. I was like, dang, there's a song called Black Republican, right? Isn't it,
Yeah.
it is by Nas and Jay-Z. Jay-Z is reportedly Republican. Thus, that's why he doesn't necessarily, you haven't seen him. I mean, I think he supported Harris outright, but that's the allegations or the understanding. And I also want to say I went to Florida A&M University for my undergrad, which is an HBCU. There were a lot of black Republicans there. There were a lot of black conservatives there.
Yeah.
And it was honestly, it was the first time that I had been in an environment where I was able to have discussions with black Republicans, and all of them came from, with the exception of one or two, wealthy families or families of some means.
Yeah.
And because I really wanted to understand, why would you want to be a Republican? So then I began to be exposed to these conservative values, these I don't know if you want to call it ultra Christian, but a lot of it was honestly centered around money.
Yeah.
That I was in conversation with, and also like this disagreement with what they considered America becoming a welfare state. And like you said, this entrepreneurialism. I always talk about my uncle Don, who was a Republican, who was a business owner, and had government contracts and could not rely on a lot of programs in place like healthcare and things like that. He had to pay
Right.
out of
Right.
pocket. And so the Republicans' fiscal agenda served him more, even though he was acutely aware of racism in the country. So for me, I think that's what you were talking about in terms of a black MAGA. A black MAGA tends to be somebody that is somebody who is so wanting to be a part of this. I don't know if you want to call it a political movement, but this block, that they are willing to allow their racial identity to be denigrated. And that's problematic. Now, let me say this too as well. Now, some of those black Republicans that I talked to at FAMU were also like that. And I think honestly, it served as the bedrock for a black MAGA. Like a black MAGA just didn't drop out the sky. Like
Right.
this
No,
is
for
a
sure.
trajectory.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, no.
You wanted
You
to
laid
add
it
to
out
that,
great.
but I wanted to say that in order to like get a little bit more into like the Nick Cannons and the Amber Rose and the Chillis of the world. I just think
Yeah.
it's quite interesting how we have long-term memories for some and short-term memories for others, because remember when Trump first got elected, you had Steve Harvey and Kanye West and all these
Nelly.
people, and Nelly,
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg, right,
Yeah.
and
I
all
ain't
these,
forgot.
you know what I mean?
I
We
ain't
haven't
forgot.
forgotten,
Yeah.
but this like pit bull mentality, right, of attacking kind of like the latest round of violators. And the thing is that when you look at all three of these people, they haven't done anything for
For
any
a while.
cause for
Yeah.
black folk. I mean, let's start with Amber Rose. What has Amber Rose done? I mean, I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
what has Chili done other than try to fight for some of those royalties?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, for the record, Chili and Amber Rose have talked about openly either not consider themselves black or
Yep.
their identity. They try to more lean towards an identity that is distant from this blackness, right? Because I think
Yes.
Chili has like an Arab father or something like that, or whatever it is.
Yeah, because like Chilia said something like I think she was called dark skin on a TV show or something. She was like, "I'm not dark, I'm caramel." And then there's the conversation of her like, she's with one of the Lawrence brothers, Joey Lawrence's brother
Mm-hmm.
from Blossom. She was his brother, and I think like you said, people like her try to tend to move towards the all lives matter because that was one of the other things people were on her head about was like she was one of those all lives matter
Mm-hmm.
folks. So I think it's that, trying to ingratiate yourself with white folks tends to put you in that blender of the MAGA coat.
A blender, damn, getting chopped up. And I
Yeah.
think, I think it's important to kind of point out, like Nick Cannon has a gaggle of baby mothers, um, um, and they're either are non-white or ethnically vague, which, in my
Yeah.
opinion, points to a certain like outlook in terms of what blackness is. I thought he was always like a very interesting public character. Like on one hand, you try to position yourself as being from banging in San Diego, and your dad was like a super crip or super blood or whatever it is.
Yeah,
And and you come from this type of background, and you have like this hood stamp and this hood credit. But the people that you choose to have children with are kind of in juxtaposition of this certain type of identity
right,
that you posture.
right.
I always thought that was a corny. But anyway,
That's funny.
yeah. So when people were like, I'm like, why are you up in arms with these three people? I mean, they have a whole history. I think we need to be at a point where let them be, and let them go to the by and by, wherever the fuck that is. You know what
Well,
I'm
I think
saying?
the problem with Chili was I think she picked a bad time for this to happen because she's apparently about to go on tour with En Vogue and Salt and Pepper. So it's like, TLC,
Mm-hmm.
En Vogue, and Salt and Pepper. And then this happens, and who are your supporters? Black women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, if you go in the comments, black women was like, I was just about to buy tickets to this show and now I'm not going. So I think that's why it's going to hit her because
Mm-hmm.
it's going to like for somebody who hasn't been out, touring a lot lately, this is going to be like one of their big comeback tours. I think she just like threw a wrench for everybody, not just TLC. She threw a wrench for everybody on that tour because you're going to lose a lot of support from black women. They was just like, I'm not spending my money for you to go donate to MAGA,
Mm-hmm.
and all that type of thing. So that was the interesting side of it for me because I'm like, damn, she like really jacked herself up because they had like literally a day before she was outed or whatever you want to call it, they had just started selling tickets for their tour.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we all know that she needs the money, but I mean, and I'm talking about in terms of her getting some benefit off of recording, because it's
Yeah.
documented about how TLC was one of the many black 90s groups that were really, signed these disastrous contracts. But with all that being said, yeah. So we shall see. I honestly, in this economic downturn, I don't know what concert going is going to look like within the next within the next year or two. But I think what made Chili's thing, so it's one right, you do Michelle Obama's a guy, right, that I think what exacerbated her issue even more was she was like, what, you know what I mean? Like, it was a slip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she lied about her affiliation. Fall on that sword. You know what I'm saying? Say it
Hey,
with
yeah.
your
Say it with your
chest.
chest.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Say it with your chest. And I think in terms of the timing of it all, at a rate that black women have been fired and have been a main source of income in the black community, going to a concert right now is a very intentional choice, because a lot of these extra monies that we used to have, we don't have it like that
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly. Exactly.
Right. And I think, honestly, Amber Rose is what we call a non-factor.
Yeah. 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 I mean, honestly, if you really think about it, like you said, even in regards to the black culture, all three of them aren't, really a factor. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Chili, Nick Cannon, and Ambrose, they not really like who will look towards for black culture, you know?
Right, right. I mean, Amber Rose was just considered like the pretty side piece of Kanye, who
Yeah.
became Wiz Khalifa's, baby mama.
Yeah.
I don't know her for anything else, but talking about sex workers,
Oh, nice
Christy
segue.
Nome is a edit. Hey, Christy Nome is a edit. What's your four-legged, a two-legged, three-legged?